Hi everyone. In this video, you will learn about the role that different species play in both a community and an ecosystem. You will learn about trophic levels, consumers, producers, and how they interact with one another. In this diagram, you first will see a triangle that is called a food pyramid, if nothing else. At the bottom, you see things that are abiotic, which are part of the environment. Those things would be rock, sand, water, air, anything in the environment that is not alive. Abiotic is not alive. Within the ecosystem, you also have the community, which are only the living things. In the example that you're going to see in your video that you watch, you will have kelp, which are eaten by sea urchins, which are eaten by sea otters, which are eaten by orcas. And that would be the community that we are going to study, this part. Okay. The kelp is a producer because it takes the energy from the sun and turns it into sugar that can be used by the sea urchins, which are a consumer. Since they're the first consumer in this level, they are the primary consumers. And since they only eat plants, they are called herbivores. Sea urchins are animals, and so they are eaten by a carnivore. The carnivore that eats them is a secondary consumer, secondary because it's 2 levels up from the producers, and those would be the sea otters. Sea otters are then eaten by the orcas, which in this case are a tertiary consumer. They are also called the apex predator in this system. They are the highest of the trophic levels. The trophic levels start at the bottom. Kelp is the first, sea urchins are the second, sea otters are the third, and orcas are the fourth. The energy then starts with the kelp at the bottom. And using photosynthesis, the kelp captures the energy and turns it into usable energy by the urchins. By the time the urchins get the energy from the kelp, they've lost some of that energy. It's gone out to them living, growing, reproducing, finding food, and just moving around in daily life, which sea urchins don't do a lot of moving around. They do a lot of growing and reproducing. The sea otters then will eat the sea urchins, and again, some of that energy is lost. Some of that energy is lost in each of those places to the environment and into other things. So the energy starts at the bottom and flows upward until it reaches the orcas, and the orcas, being the apex or top level predator, don't give that energy to anything else. Okay. Now, to look at a food chain versus a food web. In the food web, you see that there are many, many, many different kinds of living things, all the way from tiny little zooplankton and phytoplankton, which are almost microscopic, to the things that eat those, okay, to the plants, which are eaten by a number of things. And here you see our kelp, to urchin, to sea otter, to orca. Food chain, which is just one single stepladder-like chain. Within this, though, we have a lot of other animals living in this community and even in the ecosystem, because the ecosystem would include the water and the sand at the bottom. So the difference in a food chain and a food web is that the food web is more complex. It involves more species than does the food chain. And I will post this on the web for your viewing pleasure.